I'd like to talk to you today about a gastropod and water monitoring project that I did a few years ago as part of a study abroad semester that I did in Dalkeith, Scotland. The location was just a few miles south of Edinburgh on one of the estates owned by the Buccleuch Estates. This is the Dalkeith Country Park, a huge park, over 2,000 acres, 600 of which are a site of special scientific interest for an ancient oak forest of trees, many hundreds of years old, which weren't of my interest for this particular project. The black building down here in the lower left, that is the Dalkeith Palace, which is where the faculty and students lived. And you can see that running right by it is one stream. This is the North Esk on the left side, and on the right side is the South Esk. And up here at the top right is the confluence of the two streams. Wherever you see one of the red stars, these were our regular sampling localities throughout this semester. I have to show you Dalkeith Palace first. It was a wonderful place to live. Faculty, students, faculty families live here, and you can see part of the old growth forest behind. So let's look at the streams. Here is the South Esk, and the South Esk, even then, you can see it's not a particularly pristine stream. There's a lot of solid garbage in it, as well as a lot of bacteria biofilms coating just about everything. And this is contrasted with the North Esk, which is just from the eyeball test in much better shape. And here's a couple of students sampling below what's called the Montague Bridge, and through there you can see the Dalkeith Palace behind. So we're very close. We could walk out any time and sample along both streams. In the park, there is signage that talks about this set of streams and their history. And they mention that they flowed through different industrial towns. This is because this area has had well over a century of coal mining history. So the mine tailings are still there, and both streams are affected by acid mine drainage. They state on this sign that the South Esk is much cleaner, which is curious to me. They also make the point that both rivers are home to trout, salmon, even otters, particularly the trout. They want to make sure that that angling opportunity is reintroduced there. So what did we do? Our regular field collection consisted of timed hand collections by the same crew for monthly samples, August through November of 2016. And I have to say that these were mostly non-science majors, so I had to train them in what to look for, how to use the equipment, and the reasoning why we did it. Our task was to collect any and all gastropods we saw within this timed sampling, as well as the environmental data of dissolved oxygen, pH, electrical conductivity, total dissolved solids, and temperature, among others. Just a view of what we would see each time. This is on the South Esk, and right in front of my fingertip and to the side of it, you can see one of the little snails, and they're hard to find. So it took a while for the students to get their sight for these things. Here's a view under the rock. We would look on the shoreline, turn over rocks, sample wood for the various gastropods, and then collect all of them. The fauna that we get is small. This is a British 1 pound coin for scale with a couple of our samples sitting on top of it. And I have to say that the stream has been sampled for many decades by the Scottish EPA, but never with an eye towards the molluscan or gastropod fauna, usually towards the arthropods and whatever fish they could collect there. But we were looking for the gastropods. So over their entire multi-decade program, they collected less than 10 individuals of just 3 species. Well, we collected the same 3 species, but many more than that. So our least common species is the river limpet and Cyclus fluviatilis, and here it is on that 1 pound coin, enlarged again. And you can see there that even on both streams it formed less than 2% of the fauna. Notably, we did have the New Zealand mud snail, Potamopyrgus antipodarum, which has been noted there for at least 20 years. But it's not as abundant or as much of a problem as it is in other areas, but still respectable numbers in both streams. But our dominant species was the limnaeid Radix balthica, which is synonymous with Radix peregra. And you can see our Berger-Parker dominance index values for these. Both of these are really high. So it was the dominant snail in both streams. Collectively, both streams, we got over 500 individuals. And as you can see, about 90% were this Radix balthica. So it became our target taxon for subsequent study. And I had the students measure the shell width of all specimens that we collected. From this, we derived size-frequency distributions for all samples, all months, both rivers. You're looking here at just one sample. This is the September collecting date. And this is a bihistogram plot with the north esk on the top and the south esk below. The data are not normal. They're non-normal by the Shapiro-Wilk test. So I went to non-parametric statistics, and for a test of equal medians, it was falsified by the Mann-Whitney-U and the Kruskal-Wallis test. We converted this size-frequency data to biomass data using the length-mass regression formula that O'Gorman et al. Developed for that species, Radix balthica, in Iceland, where they note that it was the primary food source of the trout in all of the streams that they sampled. If we look at some of the environmental parameters that we collected here, you see that there is a difference between the two streams, with the South Esk being slightly more acidic, although not terribly so, than the North Esk. If we look at electrical conductivity, the South Esk has and this is not shown, but statistically significantly higher values of electrical conductivity and total dissolved solids, both of which are taken as measures of pollution input into streams. Well, I thought that this was going to be the end. We did a monitoring project. We turned in the data in 2016, and then 4 years later, in the summer and fall of 2020, all of these headlines started popping up and talking about an environmental disaster. The water turns orange. Working on a temporary fix for this. Pollution issue stinks. The South Esk River, not the North Esk River, had a singularly toxic series of events. Basically, mine drainage about 5 miles upstream from a place called Junkies Ate It, an old coal mine, disused, started flowing out of the Ate It directly into the South Esk, polluting the stream. The Scottish EPA and the Coal Authority have promised an estimated £1 million temporary solution to try to fix this, and they're still working on it today. Besides the acid mine drainage, in the upper right here you see a picture of the local sewage drain, which is also emitting just raw solid sewage into the stream roughly simultaneously with this. So the South Esk has received a serious 1-2 punch that's left it in pretty bad shape as of now. Here's a photograph of the stream. I didn't take this, but here's a photograph of the stream, and just a few months ago you can see the prominent iron staining from the acid mine drainage in the stream. At this exact spot, we collected lots of snails in the past. The Scottish EPA has not been collecting the snails yet. They are going to take our data and go from there. But I wanted to show you a couple of things that have popped up in the news since. The picture on the right is a picture of the confluence of the two streams, and you can see the relatively cleaner water of the North Esk at the top, and then the polluted waters of the South Esk below. I remember this particular spot because a group of swans would swim around there, and they had beautifully white, pristine plumage. And someone has gone over there and taken pictures of these things. They are all iron stained now. Here's a picture of one of the arthropods from the sediment, and there's sort of not just iron staining, but iron within the body of the creatures as well. So, for conclusion, what I can say here is that the 2016 data that we collected just as a school project forms a wonderful baseline that's going to be used for comparison of the stream in the future. And one of the things that we show with this is that Junkies Ate It probably was discharging much earlier than this. The South Esk stream was showing some stress signs much earlier than the past few months. And so that's provided primarily by our data, but also the gastropods, which we think should now be continuously monitored as a taxa, a set of taxa of primary interest, particularly if they want to redevelop the trout fishery along these two streams. And so finally, I'd like to thank the Dalkeith Country Park, the Experience Scotland program of UW River Falls, and the students of my UW Whitewater Environmental Geology class for this project. Thank you very much.